On problem number 1, they give us a definition that density is equal to mass divided by volume. And it says that mass relates to the y value and volume corresponds to the x value. So if you kind of imagine a graph, we would have mass, which is the y value, and then we would have the volume, which represents the x value. And then it says what aspect of the function corresponds to the density of the substance. So density equals mass divided by volume, but according to the graph, a normal XY graph, that would kind of be y over x. So that's the vertical change over the horizontal change. That's the definition of slope. So for number 1, the answer is A. In problem number 2, we have to find the sum of the following polynomials. So we have to understand what like terms are. 5x to the third and 6x to the third are like terms because they have the same variable and the same exponent. But x squared and negative x are not like terms because the exponent is different. But 4 and 3, negative 3, are like terms. So when you end up combining 5x to the third plus 6x to the third is 11x to the third. X squared stays by itself, minus x stays by itself, and 4 minus 3 is positive 1. Therefore, the answer here would be C. On number 3, 8 to the 1/3 is the same thing as the cube root of 8. So the cube root of 8 is simply 2. So the answer here is C. Another way you could rewrite this is you could rewrite this as 2 to the third to the 1/3. And then when you have an exponent to the exponent, you multiply them together. So 3 times 1/3 is 1. So the answer would be 2. On number 4, we want to find the value of K that will create a system that has infinitely many solutions. That basically means the two equations are exactly the same, meaning that they would overlap. So if I multiply the top equation by 3, that would give me 6x minus 9y equals 21. And that looks almost exactly like the bottom equation, except that the only difference is that we have a negative 9y and a plus ky. So that means that if k is negative 9, the equation would be exactly the same. That's why the answer to number 4 would be A. On number 5, we want to find the y-intercept. So when we find the y-intercept of a graph, that means x equals 0, and we want to figure out what y is. So all we do here is we substitute y equals 2 to the 0 power minus 3. So this becomes y equals 1 minus 3, y equals negative 2. So the answer for this question would be B. On problem number 6, we want to see which one would multiply out to give me x minus y. I can already tell you the answer would probably be B because we can see that we have a plus and minus when we distribute and we FOIL it out, meaning that the middle terms would cancel out. But if we actually did the work, you would see that this would give me square root of x minus square root of y, square root of x plus square root of y. And if we multiplied this out, this would give me square root of x times the square root of x, that's x. Then I would have the square root of x times the square root of y. That would give me plus square root of xy. And then I would have the square root of y times the square root of x. That would give me minus square root of xy. And then I would have the square root of y times the square root of y. That would be minus y. And you can see what's going to happen here. These middle two terms would cancel out. That would give me 0. And that would just reduce to x minus y. That's why the answer here is B. On number 7, we have a system. So we have x plus 3 equals y. And then we have x times y equals 40. Since y is solved for, we could take this and substitute it right here. So instead of writing x times y, I would write x times x plus 3 equals 40, and then distribute. And since we have a quadratic equation, I'm going to make it equal 0 in order to solve it. So that would give me x squared plus 3x minus 40 equals 0. From here, we factor it. So are there two numbers that multiply to negative 40 and add to 3? There are. That would be positive 8 and negative 5, which gives me two values for x. I have x equals negative 8, and then I have x equals 5. And then, in order to solve for y, what we do is we take the value of x. So I'm going to take this one. Why am I going to take x equals 5? Because it says in the problem both x and y are positive. So I don't really need to worry about this answer. So I would substitute 5 plus 3 equals y. That means 8 equals y. And then finally, to answer the question, we have to know what the sum of x and y is. So x plus y would be equal to 5 plus 8. So the answer is 13. The answer to this question would be C. Number 8 is a super straightforward answer. You can see over here, here's the line, and it's a horizontal line. You can see this is happening at 3. So this is just y equals 3. There's no slope. All of these other answers right here, 1/3 x, 3x, x plus 3, they have a non-zero slope, which means that this line would be increasing. It would be going up from left to right. This one over here, y equals 3, has a 0 slope, meaning it's horizontal. So the answer to number 8 is A. On number 9, you could try to eliminate and try to create a 0 pair. But if you go ahead and combine the two equations together, 2a minus 3b equals 5 and 3a minus 2b equals 10, if you combine these two things together, you would get 5a minus 5b equals 15. That looks really close to what we're looking for, a minus b. So in order to do that, all we need to do is divide everything by 5. If we divide everything by 5, we would get a minus b equals 3, and that answers our question. So the answer to this question would be 3. Number 10 is just a question that requires some common sense. We know that the mass of a substance is decreasing every day. So immediately we can eliminate answer choice A. We can eliminate answer choice C because it's decreasing, it's not increasing. And then I guess we have to ask ourselves, is it decreasing in a linear fashion or decreasing in an exponential fashion? So if it's losing a percentage of it, we know it's not losing a constant amount. So that means the answer here would be D. It's decreasing exponentially. Okay, in problem number 11, it says that Sarah took the subway from Times Square to Harlem, and we want to figure out her speed in miles per hour. And so if we look at the table, this is the information here that we need. And we see that she traveled 5 miles, and it took her 17 minutes to do that. But we want miles per hour. That means we have to convert the minutes into hours. So to do that, we multiply by 60 minutes over 1 hour. And by doing so, the minutes will cancel out and we'll be left with miles per hour. So that means we will get 5 times 60, which is 300 miles over 17 hours, and we would have to divide 300 by 17. So just looking at it reasonably, there's no way that it could be A, B, or C, because 17 times 0.7 would not give me close to 300. 17 times 3 would be around 50. 17 times 200 would be way more than 300. So the answer here would be C, 17.6 miles per hour.